welcome back, everybody, to Spitball and Sports. I'm your host, John. Of course, Scott will be back on Friday. But we are lucky we're in the NHL crazy season because teams that are eliminated doing their end of year stuff, and then, of course, the conference finals. And no one better to bring on to talk about all of this other than, which I'm glad to say, friend of mine. He's also writer for Full Press NHL, contributor at NHLRumors.com. They call him the voice of Full Press Hockey. And you can also hear him. I think you can hear him from Vermont to Western Canada. Hey, Jim.
Hey, John. Thanks for having me back on the show.
No, thanks for being here. This is a great time of year. Busy for you.
Oh, yeah. Busy, definitely. Yeah, busy Wednesday for sure. Busy time of year. Just, conference finals. Luckily, as much as it stinks that there's no games on these past 2 days, it's good to have a little bit of a break so you can, just catch up on a bunch of stuff. But like you said, you got year-end teams with the year-end conferences, media availabilities. You got the Stanley Cup playoffs rolling on, and, of course, the silly season, and then other news that just comes out of the woodwork.
Right. And Jim, the one that kind of out of the woodwork, but because I wasn't paying attention to it. Arizona, the Tempe, Arizona people had a vote, and they don't want this $2.1 billion entertainment complex. I think it had a casino involved, the arena, all kinds of stuff. And what do you know? What do you think about all of it and the Coyotes playing in Mullet Arena?
So look, first off, if they have to keep staying there, it's not going to be cool anymore. It's cool this year and next year. It's cool that they're playing in a college facility, okay, with the Arizona State Sun Devils. But speaking with Russ Cohen today, cheap plug, Full Press NHL podcast is up. He made a great point. They put it on 3 separate referendums that needed to be voted on. Each piece needed to be voted on separately for the whole thing to pass. I think if it was just the arena and then you do everything later, maybe it gets through. Maybe. Again, this is an older community.
Right.
Arizona, a lot of retirees. This isn't Florida. The NHL continuously promised no taxpayer money. Well, it doesn't matter. There was probably going to be taxpayer money involved, and people don't want to put money towards this team. And look, ever since they've moved there, it hasn't been great. Outside of the Roenick and Tkachuk years, where they made the second round of the Stanley Cup playoffs one time, I think, and they made some nice runs. The Shane Doan run to the conference final. This team hasn't been good. It's gone through multiple ownerships. The NHL has owned the franchise for many years. Wayne Gretzky was a coach, and he left. It's just a mess. And at some point, this league, the owner, somebody's got to admit this isn't working anymore.
Definitely. Yeah. What a good point they made, because Tempe is Tempe, Arizona is a kind of a community, like an older community, it would be I don't know, it's like picking that stadium up and putting it, I don't know, somewhere. It just didn't seem like the right spot to me. Obviously, be Glendale or whatever, but Sarver back then didn't want it. Although they played for a little bit in that arena, right? It just didn't look right.
So they played down in Glendale, but that's kind of a hike outside of downtown Phoenix and Scottsdale. They originally played in the America West Arena in downtown Phoenix. The only issue with that arena was the sight line on the one side. If you're in the upper deck, you couldn't see below. That's when they were winning. Now, they still have a couple of options. If you want to call it options, they can go back to the America West Arena, get it fixed, and move back in there because it's in downtown Phoenix. You can go back with the Phoenix Suns, and those are pretty much the only 2 options left if you want to keep this team in Arizona. The next thing is going to be relocation, and obviously, Houston's going to be a big player. But again, it's TV market. Like everybody's saying, oh, Salt Lake, this place, this. The NHL wants it in a big TV market. Granted, the Coyotes aren't very good, and it stinks because they're going to have a talented team really soon with their draft picks. It's just how everything's been handled. And you have to applaud, look, everybody's going to take a shot at Gary Bettman and be like, oh, the experiment in the desert didn't fail. But you have to applaud him for trying to keep the team there as long as possible. but then it gets to a point where like, okay, we can't do this anymore, and you have to admit failure, like you saw with the Atlanta Thrashers.
Right.
So I think Houston, Kansas City, maybe something like that could be a viable option for this team. But last night when the votes were coming in, you just saw it. It was like, no, no. It's like,
Yeah.
here we go again. And you could see it. Players are devastated, former players, like management. This is like the first time you've really seen like the Coyotes, like management, people around the team, like, okay, maybe we're not keeping this team here anymore.
You know what makes me, I wonder if the like players association ever gets pissed off, because these guys play in an arena. Like I always listen to people, like I was listening to Ryan O'Reilly when he was about with the Leafs. First class, everything. Love it. The arena, the whole deal. These guys are playing at a college, a university at 5,000. I wonder at what point do they get pissed off and say, we're NHL players here, not playing in a 5,000 seat arena. I've always been curious as to why they never got involved in the process too.
I think they're involved in more than we hear. I think because hockey-related revenue is a big deal and they want the salary cap to go up, and the Coyotes can't continue play in that arena if the salary cap is going to go up. Like, it really is a bad look. And I know there are players, and look, John Tortorella, the biggest king of guys like dissing areas, was even said, oh, yeah, it's cool and this and that. My guess is guys were told not to say anything bad about this. And the visiting locker room isn't the greatest. Like look, it's a cool look, but after a while, the novelty wears off. Like we saw with the Atlanta Thrashers. Oh yeah, Thrashers are here. Okay,
Right.
After a while, who cares?
Absolutely. Yeah. So Arizona, no word from anybody you talk about Quebec City at all, or is that just that's too bad?
I don't. It look. A lot of people are like, yeah, we really hope that Quebec City can get a team again. But the problem is I think they want to go to Houston and try to stay there. As much as it would be nice to have, I don't think it's gonna be a expansion team. I really think it would be like somebody relocating, like the Coyotes would do it. But again, if the Coyotes come east, who you sending west to balance everything out? So that's why Houston and Kansas City kind of makes sense.
Right.
To me, as much as we want Quebec City, and trust me, there's a lot of people that do want it. Right now, it's on like the bottom of the list right now, unfortunately.
Yeah, the poor Coyotes and whoever the fans are that have stuck with this team, they deserve something, because you know what I mean. They love it, because I can't even imagine how difficult this has been as a Coyotes fan.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, look, I think that I wouldn't say two most passionate, but I would say two of the more passionate fan bases: Buffalo Sabres fans and Coyotes fans who've stuck through this the whole way. I mean, you're dedicated to your team, and you gotta be, stick taps to you for being there through all this mess.
Yeah, definitely. All right, let's get into what's going on the ice. Before we get to the stuff that happens off the ice, because there's so much of that too. Conference finals are set. Dallas and Las Vegas in the West, Florida and Carolina in the East. Why don't we start out West? Dallas, Vegas. Ottinger, of course, against Aiden Hill. What is your thoughts on this series?
To me, Dallas has the edge in goaltending for sure. I mean, strict edge in goaltending. Jake Ottinger. Obviously, Dallas, Pete DeBoer, what he does with teams in his first year, conference final or Stanley Cup final, it's kind of weird. But he's now 7-0 with 4 different franchises. And oh, by the way, he coached the Vegas Golden Knights, so that's kind of a nice little storyline. Dallas, Joel Pavelski, what he did in that series after coming back, 8 goals, a bunch of them tip-ins. That was what he does. Rupe Hintz, Wyatt Johnson. Again, I'm really surprised Wyatt Johnson was not a Calder Trophy for Rookie of the Year for what he's done. Youngest player to score in Game 7. That was a beautiful goal. Defensively, Miro Heiskanen is one of the best and should be a Norris Trophy guy every year, and is not. This team is good. Vegas, to me, is a little deeper. Just a little more deep. We're finally seeing what Jack Eichel can do on the ice in the playoffs. All those years he didn't make the playoffs in Buffalo. This guy is, made for the spotlight. Takes the pressure off Mark Stone a little bit. And then obviously, Chandler Stevenson, that's a great pickup, by the way, for Vegas. Ivan Barbashev, what a pickup for him. they just feel like they're just clicking at the right time. Their power play's going. Bruce Cassidy's got this team playing the right way. And let's show some love to John Stevens, who's also on that coaching staff as well. He's been around a while. He's won a Stanley Cup with the Kings. And then Sean Burke, goalie coach, former Devil. He was there in '88 when they made that run. But what he's done with the goaltending there, they've gone through 5 different goaltenders this season. But the fact that the way Aiden Hill is playing, you got to give credit to Sean Burke. Obviously the edge to Ottinger, but Ottinger has shown that he can be human, and Vegas has shown that, hey, you know what? We can go on the road and win. We can win in our place. We can score on the power. Now, if the power play, and the issue was for Vegas recently in the playoffs has been, I'm going to run into a hot goalie and our power play isn't going to click anymore. And that's what happened in Dallas in 2020 in the bubble against Anton Hudobin and then years after. But I think this team is playing better. They're more complete team now. Alex Petrangelo's healthy. Alec Martinez is healthy. Shea Theodore. You're seeing what this team can do, and I think they're a better team than Dallas, and I think they have a better team than when they went to the Stanley Cup final in 2018.
So one thing I found incredible is Pete DeBoer. I didn't even know this, being Mr. Game 7. Gee, 7-0. That's incredible to me to have all those wins as a head coach.
Yeah, it's crazy to think about that. Like
Yeah.
he's done that. He's done well, for him time in the league. He just hasn't won a Stanley Cup. He took the Devils to a Stanley Cup final. He took San Jose to a Stanley Cup final, but they just couldn't finish the deal. He lost in conference final with Vegas, didn't make the playoffs either. But, Bruce Cassidy now back-to-back 50-win seasons with 2 different franchises. They are playing the right way, and they're clicking at the right time, and they usually forget their losses like you saw against Edmonton. They just bounce back right away. They're proving that no lead is too big. And, obviously Aiden Hill's going to have to stop the puck now. He had to do it against that Oiler power play. And the Dallas power play is really good too. Here's the difference. Dallas is 5-2 at home. They're a really good home team. But what I found out is interesting is when Vegas goes on the road after starting at home, they win game 3 most of the time. And, obviously it's only 2 rounds, but they've gone in and just, hey, we're going to go play our game and win on the road. So this is going to be a fun series. I expect it to go 7, but I expect Vegas to win.
If Vegas does win, like your prediction, who would you, and this is a big guess, Conn Smythe, if they make it to the Cup, Conn Smythe, who would be your guy, like could be a Conn Smythe candidate from the Knights?
I would probably, right now, I'd probably say Jack Eichel.
Wow. Yeah.
I would say Eichel, or I don't think they'll give it to him. The other 2 guys I would think maybe Chandler Stevenson or Barbashev.
Let me ask you. Oh, and you know who else they have on that team? And I think his first name is Michael. Don't they have Amadio on that team?
Yeah, Michael Amadio's on that team.
Ex-Maple Leaf, man. I can recall him in preseason games. And I don't know. Of course, they had to let him go.
He scored the double OT winner against Winnipeg.
I know. I watch him and Carter Verhaeghe. It makes me a little sick as a Maple Leaf fan.
What could have been?
Oh, yeah. But we'll get into that later, I guess. Okay. Florida, Carolina, interesting, right? My God, I'd have never suspected this. Bobrovsky against Anderson should be a great matchup. What do you think, and what do you like here?
Look, obviously, the edge in goaltending goes to Bobrovsky. He's playing well. He's getting the loads of the minutes. This is what he needs. I think now that he's become the man, he's more confident in himself. He plays a certain way. He's worked so hard. He works hard after morning skates, after practices, after games. He's in the zone right now. The key for me is I think Florida's going to be a little rusty just because of the time off. They've had so much momentum through January. Obviously we go back to March when, the tirade from Paul Maurice and Keith Tkachuk. And, I joke funny, I think Keith Tkachuk should get his name on the Conn Smythe Trophy on the Stanley Cup if Florida wins because of what he said on Toronto radio, calling them soft. But, obviously Florida's got a good team. Carter Verhaeghe, Brandon Montour in front of him. Aaron Ekblad's playing unbelievable hockey right now. And then Anthony Duclair is playing good. It all starts with Matthew Tkachuk, Sam Bennett, that line. I'd like to see a little bit more. I would like to see a little bit more from Jason Robertson in Dallas. I'd like to see a little bit more from Alexander Barkov. I know, he's doing the little things right, but he's paid to score goals. And they got away with it against Toronto, and they got away with it against Boston. I don't know if you're going to get away with it playing a good structured team like Carolina, who's very good defensively, who can shut down the middle of the ice. Oh, by the way, does that sound familiar? That's a team like the Tampa Bay Lightning that Florida lost to in 4 games last year. Paul Maurice is coaching against another former club, a team he took to the Cup final in 2002. I love what Rob Brendamore is doing with this team. Jacob Slavin, backhand, Pesci, Jesperi Kotkaniemi in the playoffs right now is unbelievable. And they're doing it without Andrei Svechnikov. It looks like Teuvo Teravainen might play in game 1. If not, he'll go game 2. But it looks like he's making progress where he can play in the playoffs now. And, but they're getting it done everywhere. Marty Natchez, Jordan Martin, Jordan Staal. I'd like to see where he matches up, too. Staal took on Hughes in the second round, shut him down really well. Let's see who he matches up with in the conference final. Obviously, Anderson, he's been tested. He's shown he can play in the playoffs. And again, another goalie from Toronto who probably showed it wasn't his fault when they lost. But to me, Carolina, PNC Arena, very tough building to play in. I'm giving the edge to Carolina. I think we get a Carolina-Vegas Stanley Cup final.
How many games for that series do you think, Carolina?
6.
6?
That seems like their MO.
Yeah.
5 or 6. I don't see it going 5. I think it could go 6 games. I think Florida's going to sneak a couple of games in. But Carolina just plays so structured hockey, and Florida has to be patient. They played 2 teams in Boston and Toronto. They took advantage of mistakes. Carolina doesn't make those mistakes.
I wonder, when it comes to Conn Smythe thought with Carolina, it almost reminds me of my favorite football team, the Bears of '85. Like, it almost would have to be a whole team. I don't know who you'd give it to. I mean, Slavin? I mean, that'd be crazy. He's a plus 14, but he doesn't score. Right? It'd be weird.
Slavin, you could give it to Jordan Martinook right now. I mean, after the series, he just had 10 points.
True, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's probably the leading guy. Maybe Freddie could get it after what he did, what he's doing. But again, it's so hard to see. I definitely, like, on the other side, if Florida gets there, I'd probably go with, like, Kachuk or something, just because, like, the way he's been playing. I know he was he didn't have a great second round stats wise, but he had that edge that you need to win in the Stanley Cup.
Yeah, I'm happy for Freddie, though. I was looking back at his Leaf time today, and he played really well for them in the playoffs. So did Jack Campbell. I wish he'd have got more opportunity. But we're going to get on to Edmonton also. So you see it being Carolina, Las Vegas. That's your Stanley Cup.
I think Carolina just home at home in the playoffs it's such a difficult task to beat them there. It really is.
I like your point about the Florida maybe breaking the momentum with all this time off. That I didn't even think of. I mean, they've just been going every other night, and for, like you said, since like the new year. So maybe it is something.
Yeah, I mean, I expect them to be rusty because, like, I expected them to take game 1 against Toronto because they had just played a game 7. They only had a day off, and you're traveling and you're going to play, and they had that momentum. Now you've been off since really the end of last Friday after they won in double over. So Saturday through Thursday, that's a lot of time off. I know, everybody's like, oh, well, it's rest players. Yeah, but in the playoffs, you don't want that much rest. You've seen it. Look, go back to 2007 with the Ottawa Senators when they steamrolled everybody. They had the time off between the Cup final, from the conference final between the Cup final. That really hurt them. Anaheim in 2003. You can find examples along the way where that you have time off and it just hurts your team momentum-wise.
Yeah, no doubt. So we'll get back. We're not going to get a Cup final, any of that. We'll be talking more. I'll wait till the Cup finals come before we try to shoot that out there. But what I want to do now is, if you don't mind, is get into some of these teams year-ending, like locker clean-out press conferences and stuff like that, and what you see coming. I want to go with your team though, because to me, the Devils, I think they had their best season ever, right? In points and wins and all that. They looked great all regular season. They have what the Maple Leafs, I thought, had back in 2017. That feeling like, in a couple of years, man, this might be we might win something. What is your thoughts? How did you hear all? I'm sure you listened to everything. I know Timo Meyer and Jasper Bratt and all them guys are coming up. What do you? Oh, you know a lot. What do you know about what's happening with them?
All right, so Tom Fitzgerald had his media availability today. So both guys on Saturday said that they want to return. Timo Meyer was like, "Well, I'm gonna leave it up to my agent. You know, we're gonna. It's gonna be a process. You know, it's the summertime. Obviously, you know, he likes it here." Jesper Bratt said the same thing. He's like, "My intention is to re-sign here. I want to be here. I'll see you guys for the next couple years." All that stuff. And Jack Hughes kind of made a comment. He's like, it's all well and good. These guys talk about being here. Now you have to want to be here too. Like you have to put pen to paper. You got to do it. Like you can talk all you want about being here, but you know, push comes to shove, are you going to sign on the dotted line? And I'm paraphrasing, obviously, what he said, but you know, it's kind of interesting because today, you know, you've heard a lot of talk about how well New Jersey could be in a market for goalie. Tom Fitzgerald's like, oh, I'm really happy with the goalies right now, but that doesn't mean anything. You know,
Right.
I take it with a grain of salt, you know, because I love college football. So like Nick Saban always say, well, my quarterback, you know, played well, but then he makes a quarterback change because they didn't really play well. But Tom Fitzgerald said he's got a framework and everything in place with Jesper Bratt. He doesn't expect it to be as contentious as the last two where he knows Jesper wants to be here long term, but he also said later on, he's like, well, I know we don't have a first round draft pick, but that doesn't mean we can't get one. Oh, wow. And so if you kind of put two and two together, I think a lot of people around the team and you know what I've heard and talked with a lot of people is like the Devils are going to give him a contract, and it's basically a take it or leave it kind of deal. It's like right. It's going to be 4 years at say 6.5 million, 7 million. You don't like it? Okay, well we're going to move you because right. You're going to stay within a structure. Timo Meyer, Tom Fitzgerald believes that he wants to be here. You know, he believes this is the best fit for him. Again, you bring a guy into the deadline. He was really good in the battles on the boards. I know he didn't produce offensively, but a lot of the top guys were snake bitten in the playoffs this year. They didn't really produce. I give it an off season, and if he comes back, you're not qualifying him at 10 million. You got to get him in under that, and maybe you get him over Jack a little bit. But again, I know they want to keep that structure where Jack Hughes is the highest paid player. You know, Eric Halla is another name. Look, Tom Fitzgerald loves Eric Halla. He said today he's going to make that trade 7 days a week and twice on Sunday. And Halla wants to remain in New Jersey. He even said it after Game 5. He's like, this team, like you said, this team's coming. There's a bright future ahead, and he wants to be a part of it. And he was a crucial part of this team, face-off-wise, playing with Jack Hughes. He's good for the young players. So the Devils do have work. Obviously, like, you know, David Severson's a free agent. Ryan Graves is a free agent. Graves, you know, it's 50-50 on him. He's really not sure. Severson didn't really mention anything. But again, I think you got to bring one of those guys back, especially with Nemec still coming. I mean, look, he's probably going to start the season next year. Obviously, we saw what Luke Hughes did. I mean, look, I've been clamoring for that kid to come in all playoff long. You find the audio on this show, too. Mm-hmm. I told you he needed to be in the lineup. Yes, he makes mistakes, but the fact that Lindy Ruff went back to him in Game 5 after a tough Game 4 and he had the most minutes out of all the defensemen tells me that this kid is good. He's gonna have to develop defensively, no doubt, but he gives the Devils a different dynamic. And if Nemec is going to come along, so you don't want to throw the kids in too early. So I think they're going to have to bring back a veteran guy. I don't see Miles Wood coming back. I think out of the RFA guys, I think Igor Sharangovich might be the odd man out here. I think Michael McLeod's coming back. I think Nathan Bastian's coming back. Does that mean, you know, I don't think Mackenzie Blackwood's going to be returning to the New Jersey Devils too. So the Devils have a lot of work this offseason. Obviously, it starts with Bratt and Meyer, but let's see what other things they're going to do. I think, you know, I still think they need to address their goaltending just because Akira Schmidt's 22 years old and Vitek Vanacek did not have a great playoff. Now, a lot of people are like, oh, well, the way you used him down the stretch. Well, you know what? He also hasn't played this much hockey before. So I don't know. I think there's something where they can get a goalie. Now, obviously the big names, Connor Hellebuck. I'm not sure they can do it, but I think that's where it starts. But again, their priorities are Bratt and Meyer, and they go on because, as Fitzgerald said, everybody's important. They're all key pieces, so there's no priority list for him. They're all important.
Yeah, and this team has got a super. I mean, the bright future. I remember I watched the Leafs all the time, and when they played them, you could see it in the regular. You could see it. I mean, you're right there. I mean, you could see this team coming, and they're there. And I hope they keep going because I remember where the Leafs were, and it got upended. But now to a different team that's kind of the Devils have a bright future. This team has a bright future, but sometimes you're starting to feel a little weird about them. The Edmonton Oilers. I want to know what you think about them. I mean, it's weird, it was all there for them. It was there for the taking. I know Vegas is good, but let me hear what you think about the Oilers.
All right, well, I'm going to cheap plug myself again, fullpresshockey.com. Goaltending and defense was the reason that the Edmonton Oilers lost. It wasn't because they couldn't score. It was because they can't defend. When you're giving up leads on the next shift after you score the first goal, that's a problem. It's a big problem. It goes back to the first round against LA, Darnell Nurse, Cody Ceci. Look, game 5, I mean, Broberg's in there with Cody Ceci on your bottom pair. That's not a good thing. They have to upgrade their defense, and they may need to get another starting goaltender. But I will say, I think Jack Campbell should have started game 5, and I definitely know he should have started game 6 because Stuart Skinner left in a lot of bad goals, and Jack Campbell saved this team's season in the first round against LA, or else they were going out in the first round. But what I love about the Oilers is that Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl took ownership. Yep. They said, we want to win. We're tired of feeling this way. We don't like the fact that we're playing this way. We don't like this feeling. And it's very, very tough to win in this market. And they know that their window is closing, but you could see it on their faces and their press conferences. These guys want to win badly.
Yeah, no doubt. And McDavid, it's coming time soon. Won't be long before he has to re-up and figure out what he's going to do. That'll be interesting. I do agree. Jack Campbell, really, I don't know that I didn't understand why they didn't use him more. I watched with the Leafs. He was great. They lose 2-1 when he was there, that game against Tampa last year or whatever it was. And, he let in 2 goals. You should win that game. But you're right. Campbell should have been in there more.
Yeah, I mean, in his time in relief, he looked really good. I thought, he only gave up, I think, a total of 3 goals in 3 relief appearances. That's not to say he can't shut the door. I think he would have been fine. Again, look, Stuart Skinner, this wasn't supposed to be his team. Yes, he's up for the Calder Trophy. I get it. But look what Florida did. They're like, okay, Alex Line got us to a point, but we need to go to our $10 million man in Sergei Bobrovsky, and Bobrovsky took the reign. At some point, Jay Woodcroft had to go to Jack Campbell and be like, all right, we're paying you $5 million. I need to see what you can do. But then again, if they don't have this much, if they couldn't put Jack Campbell in games 5 and 6 against Vegas, then what's that say in their confidence level about him? Now they have to look at goaltending again. And It's the same issues for the Oilers as it's been since Connor McDavid got there. And even before that.
Yeah.
These guys can't defend.
Yep, exactly. Now we're going to move to Eastern Canada and the Toronto Maple Leafs. And what I'm going to say this before I throw it to you. I have been for a long time, as long as they've been doing these, year-end locker cleanouts, and then they broadcast. They let me hear it. I get to hear it on Sportsnet or wherever I list it. I have never seen anything like this. Last year, the Leafs looked, and they said the right things. I would say all the players did. This year, very different. Kyle Dubas threw a complete monkey wrench into the whole mix by what he said about needing family time and look, I don't, and I feel, and I said this online somewhere, I really hope there's nothing wrong with him because I'll feel bad. You know what I mean? If there's a health issue, there's something wrong. I mean, that's most important. But wow, what a monkey wrench he threw into it. Elliot Friedman had just said the other day that the Leafs are ready to give him an extension or offer him one this weekend, and now they put the brakes on that. The core 4, the whole deal. I want to hear your take on the Maple Leafs.
Look, first round was excellent. They looked like this team that was gonna make the play, like make a deep run. When you're down in games, you come back, you win 3 games on the road in overtime in comeback fashion. That's what usually sparks teams to make deep runs in the playoffs. Round 2 was the same old crap we saw the last several years from this team. The top guys didn't perform. Mitch Marner was MIA. I think he had, 1 goal in the series, 2, if that. William Nylander had a great series for them. Austin Matthews hit so many posts. They were snake bitten, but John Tavares didn't do much. Look, the one guy I really feel good for is Morgan Riley. Like, he had a great playoff for the Maple Leafs. He put that bad regular season behind him, and he stepped up, and he did everything he could for this team. But the answers I saw from these players were so robotic. They didn't have any feel to them. They didn't show remorse. They didn't feel angry about losing again. Like, I know they want to win and everything, but you're not saying it. That's what I saw from the Edmonton Oilers players. They're like, we want to win. We're tired of losing. Like, all this stuff. Like, the Devils have said all this. It feels like it's like, yeah, I want to come back. Oh, yeah, this guy, I want to come back. Like, all the guys want to come back. But there's no soul or anything to this team. It feels so robotic and corporate. And these guys just have to just let their emotions go and be mad that they continuously can't get this job done. And look, Kyle Dubas, I watched the press conference. I've written about it. Like, he's not sure what he wants to do. And I agree with you. Hopefully it's not a health issue, because he's a good general manager. He really is. He did everything right this year for this team.
Yeah.
Everything, like top to bottom. Ryan O'Reilly, Nola Char, you're bringing guys like that. Even the Jake McCabe trade I like, the Luke Shen trade I like. But at some point, the top guys have to perform. And they didn't get the job done again. And then they had an awful performance in game 3 where they were out to lunch. The mistakes that they made ended up in the back of their net. They probably should have lost round 1 this year and didn't. But they found a way. They dug deep. They're like, okay, this team's different. Nope, but they're not different. No. Kyle Dubas, for the first time, is open to changing what this team looks like. All well and good, these guys got paid, but he's willing to listen to everybody now. And that's a change in philosophy that it wasn't there the last couple of years.
Because you figured last year the Leafs, after they lost, were angry. I remember it. I remember how they spoke. This year was bizarre. This is why we know they have to change. The only one that showed emotion really was Kyle Dubas when he was fighting the fans in Tampa, throwing water bottles. I mean, the pressure obviously was on, and I feel bad for Sheldon Keefe a little bit. And the funny thing is, though, and I want to get your thoughts, and I'm just a fan looking at it. I feel like Tavares can't be moved, obviously. He's got to go to the wing now. There's 2 years left. There's nothing you can – I wouldn't strip the C from him or try to do all that stuff. I just think it is what it is. You brought him in thinking you'd have won the cup by now or at least been in a final. So nothing you can do there.
Yeah, I mean, look, I will stay with this. The John Tavares signing threw a monkey wrench in this plan for the Leafs. I think if he doesn't sign, I think they have a number 1 defenseman. I think they have a better goalie. I think those are areas they still need to address. You're going to have to move one of Marner or Nylander. I don't think you're moving Matthews. I think you can't move a center like that who can score 60 goals. He's gotten better, but I think one of his running buddies has to go, and you have to change. It's either Marner or it's Nylander. Like you said, you can't move Tavares, and Tavares isn't going to be moved, but he's got to move to the wing. He's not a center anymore. He's too slow. He's too old. The emergence of Matthew Knies gives this team options now. You can find wingers like that, and I think Marner, as much as he wants to play for Toronto, would be better in a different scene, and I think the pressure would be off come the playoffs. Because, again, he goes missing in action. Like, he's not there. And not to say Matthews shouldn't, take a brunt of this, but at least he had a good first round. And he had chances in the second round to score. They just didn't go in. He had how many? I think he led the Leafs in hit posts. I really do.
Too, I think a lot of times for Matthews on his behalf, he was going a lot of times he had to go get his puck himself. Like, I mean, he had to go in on the board, get the puck. Like, there was no one going to get it. That's usually what you want. When you got a guy like Matthews, you want to give him the puck. Now, one thing interesting on Marner, and you probably already know this, I think he has 10 goals in 53 playoff games. So
that's awful.
yeah, I would love to see, because Nylander, he's up now. So they got to figure out what to do with him. And the no trade. Now, this is the other thing that's sick. And I know you know this, but I don't know if the audience does. The no trade clauses kick in on July 1st. And if you don't have a general manager, holy cow, you're going to have a little bit of chaos.
Yeah, you're going to have chaos. Like, this is why Matthews is the priority. You have to figure out what Matthews is doing, what he wants to do. If he wants to stay, and he most likely will stay, but I'm going to tell you this right now. He's going to get 2 contracts out of this. He's going to do exactly what he did last time. He's going to get 2 contracts, and you got to figure out the number. Once you figure out the number on the next one, then it's like, okay, we know this number. Now who are we moving? Because you have to get that done before the draft. You have to. Plain and simple, have to get it done before the draft. Because if you're going to move Marner without the no trade protection, then you're going to have to do it before July 1st. Willie, look, I think Willie's always been the name that's been out there for years now that is the guy that's going to get moved. And if he does, he's going to flourish somewhere. Mm-hmm. And I think Marner will flourish too. But I think Matthews is and look, everybody always connected Matthews with Arizona. That ain't happening, folks. That ain't happening. He's going to stay in Toronto. I believe that, because if he was going to go to Arizona, if the decision to build the arena had come through, maybe he goes. Maybe he goes home. But I don't know if he wants that pressure of playing in his home state. It would be great for the NHL, but again, they don't market. They may not market it the right way. So I think Matthews in Toronto makes sense. Now, after that, where do you go? But look, this team also, like a lot of teams, is up against the salary cap. They got to re-sign bottom 6 forwards. They got to sign defensemen. They may have to upgrade in goalie. I love Joe Savall, I do. But is it Wall and Samsonov? Is it Wall and somebody else? Obviously Matt Murray's not going anywhere. So
they better hope they can. They better hope they can put him on long term something, because that's one thing that Dubas did. That's tough. That's a tough one. Can I ask you something before we off the Leafs? And I want your opinion. Sheldon Keefe is 100. He's got 166 wins. I wrote it down. 71 losses and 30 overtime losses in his regular seasons. As a head coach in the playoffs, one guy is Mr. Game 7 in DeBoer. He's 13 and 18 in the playoffs, I believe, is his stats. Is it time to move on from him?
I mean, if Gerard Gallant can get fired after back-to-back 100-point seasons, I mean, I think they have to make a coaching change here. Look, Sheldon Keefe's done all he could with this team. I don't think you can run it back. You can't have Sheldon Keefe there as much as you like him, and I know the players like him. I think they need another voice in that room, and the adjustments that they were making in the playoffs. I don't like the term out-coached. He wasn't out-coached. He's just, I think he gets to a point that he just doesn't. I don't know what's next. He doesn't know what to do. I don't want to say he doesn't know what to do. What's next? But it's like it's a different gear that you have to get to.
Well, think about Florida. They never changed their lineup. The Leafs in that series, it was 11-7. It was 12. You didn't know what was going to happen. And it was like that in Tampa too. It's weird that they were never able to have a set lineup at all through the whole time. But anyways, I mean, I would think the one thing I'll tell you, Mike Babcock might have been right. The things he said about this team when he left and no one wanted to hear it and everyone was upset, he was right. He was right. They're just not there's you know what? You said it best. Marner, Nylander, Matthews, they're all going to flourish wherever. It's just the mix. I think they're great players. They just can't do it together, I guess.
You need to make the tough decision now. Like, championship teams make tough decisions. Look, Florida made a tough decision. Yeah. Well, everybody said, "Oh, well, they didn't win the trade." Well, guess what? Both teams won the trade, but they went through adversity during the regular season. The Leafs need to start going through that adversity in the regular season and make them tougher. They're a great regular season team. By December, they're in the playoff picture, all that stuff. Florida makes the trade. They struggle, new head coach, all the system.
Point.
Paul Maurice said this. He's like, look, it's all well and good you make the playoffs. That's not good enough. You have to know how to play in the playoffs to make deep runs. Florida was just satisfied with getting to the playoffs. I think these guys are satisfied. New Jersey, perfect example, always made the tough decision. Like during their championship runs. I never forget, they had one of the best lines in hockey. Sikora, Elias, Arnott for years. After they lost in the first round at the draft, Lou Lamoriello's like, the lines become bigger than the team. Guess what? Peter Sikora, you're going to Anaheim, Jeff Friesen, Oleg Tagarovsky. The mix that they had with those players was great. They also had heart and soul guys that would get mad, motions, like also guys that know how to win. Again, they have a lot of the Leafs have a lot of free agents. Guys are opening to returning, but can they get it done? And I think they have to finally make the tough decision that they can't run this back anymore. And I think this is as far as this group of players can make it.
Yeah.
Plain and simple.
That is simple. Simple as that. You're right. Now, thanks for staying overtime with me. I know I kind of pushed it over the
That's all right.
limit. Jim, where can everybody find you, listen to you, or where do they go?
Okay, so you can get me on Twitter at Jim Biringer. So it's my last name, Binger. Fullpresshockey.com. Get my articles up there. Conference final previews. Some Devils rumors are going to come up as well. NHLrumors.com. You can get me. If you're on LinkedIn, I'm on LinkedIn as well. Jim Biringer. There you can listen to me. Saga 960 tomorrow morning, 8:40 with Mike Richards. Then also WVTC in Middlebury, Vermont next week as well. I'll be on the air. I've been doing a 2-spot now with Richards Mondays and Thursdays. And obviously the Full Press Hockey podcast when it comes out. And then Full Press Hockey Weekly on Full Press NHL Twitter. So there's you can get pretty much Johnny Cash said it best. I've been everywhere. I am everywhere. And, I just pop up wherever.
What time are you on with Richards again? 8:40?
8:40 tomorrow.
All right, cool. I got to check it out. All right, Jim, I appreciate you sticking around with me for this long and for our audience. And we'll be back in touch, obviously, as the conference finals move on and we get to the Stanley Cup finals and when all these crazy maneuvers start to happen as well.
Absolutely. I love coming on with you, John. This is a great platform. And I love just spreading the word of the hockey and the knowledge. And, it's always a pleasure to be on here. Conference finals kick going tomorrow night, 8 p.m. in Carolina. It's going to be a fun time. And, silly season's right around the corner.
Absolutely. All right, Jim, get some rest.
Thanks. I'll try.
Take care.
Take it easy.
All right, that was Jim Biringer from, as he told you, everywhere. Just type his name into Google. You'll find him. Full Press NHL. He's a writer there. Contributor NHLrumors.com. The voice of Full Press Hockey, and all those other places. On with Mike Richards. That's going to be interesting. I'm going to have to check that out. He's somebody I used to remember. I believe it was TSN days. All right. Thankfully, he stuck around. Great show. Jim, of course, bringing all the stuff, all the knowledge you could want as we get ready for the conference finals. And, of course, if your team's not in the conference finals, all the, press conferences and all the UFAs and all the things you got to look at as far as salary cap. And he's got it all. So that's Jim Biringer. All right, everybody. We'll be back on Friday as usual. Me and Scott will be here. We'll be talking about everything, not just the NHL. We'll be talking about all sports as the NBA obviously already started their conference finals. The NFL does everything all the time. They never sleep and all that stuff. So, and Robin will be back with us too. All right, everybody, take care. See you Friday.